This is the APD Pod Squad. My name is Rick Rice. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Asheville Police Department, although that is a relatively new title for me. I've only been with the APD about 5 months after spending the last 30 years on the radio. Some of you may know that. A lot of those were right here in Asheville. So, quick history, I moved here from Fayetteville, North Carolina in February of 1999 after living and working in Evansville, Indiana, Joplin, Missouri, and Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Grew up in Buffalo, New York. Go Bills. Went to college at Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania. But enough about me. This is the APD Pod Squad podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Recording from the Palatius Studios in Station 13. So what is the APD Pod Squad? Well, we're going to really get to know the men and women behind the badge. Dig deep into some cold cases, let you know about some of the fun ways to engage with officers like Coffee with a Cop, Citizens Police Academy, and Chess with a Cop. Also, if you've got a question about something, anything at all, it's been nagging you for the longest time, here's your chance to ask the chief of police himself. You can call 250-8800 and leave a voicemail. Keep in mind, we will be using those questions, those voicemails, those messages left as part of the podcast. So if you don't want to hear your voice as part of it, well then you could email us apdpodcastfeedback@asheville.nc.gov, and then we'll just read it on your behalf. And on today's inaugural episode of the APD Pod Squad, we'll be talking with several key members of the leadership team at the Asheville Police Department, including Capt Brandon Moore, Capt Jonathan Brown, and Lieutenant Josh Meindl. Also, the Chief of Police, Mike Lamb, who leads things off. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Good morning.
This is exciting. The first episode of the APD Pod Squad. And people have asked me this question. Maybe you can answer it. Whose idea was this?
Oh, gosh. I believe it was Chief Zach, actually, initially. Whenever we discussed it, we talked about all the different types of cases we could talk about, and you being perfect for the role also.
I remember the very first conversation we had back in, I guess it would have been December, maybe. It came up as part of, that conversation. Yeah. And so I'm like, I could definitely pull that off.
Oh, yeah.
So that fit well. I don't know if it helped me get the job or something else, but I'm grateful. Yeah. So maybe it was Chief Zach. I know he was kind of an out-of-the-box thinker in some ways.
Yes, and the more we talked about it and mentioned it to other people, the more they thought, that would be a great idea, because we have some great stories to tell through investigations and just, a lot of the stuff that officers see. It makes for really interesting content.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be telling the story of the Asheville Police in many different ways. So featuring officers and cold cases and community engagement and speaking with so many in our department, and also an opportunity for the people of Asheville to, in a way, speak directly to you and ask questions with the Ask the Chief segment.
Yes.
So that's kind of exciting. I mean, people think, access to the chief, it's got to be difficult. But no, we're making it really easy.
Yeah. And we push a lot of content out, but, it's just so one-sided. So this really gives the folks in Asheville an opportunity to ask specific questions, and then, take the time to listen and hear what the answers are.
Yeah, and so there's two ways that they can ask a question. So we're going to give them a phone number, and they can call and leave a message. Now, we're going to give them a disclaimer with that, because we're going to use your voice as part of this show. So if you're the bashful sort, you might not want to do that method. But the phone number is, of course, 828-250-8800. So hopefully you can remember that. We tried to make it as easy as possible. 250-8800 is the phone number, and you can call it right now if you want and leave a message. So the chief's not going to pick up the phone like right when you call it. But you can leave a message, and then we'll incorporate that, and then you can answer those questions. So that's one way to do it. The other is email, right? So APD Podcast Feedback @asheville.nc.gov. APD Podcast Feedback, all one word, at asheville.nc.gov. So those are active right now. You can go ahead and ask the chief, make a phone call, leave a message, send us an email, and then the next episode, we will respond to those with your answers.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
And since we don't have any questions from the citizenry today, I'll ask you a couple.
Sounds good.
Okay, because so you've been with the Asheville Police Department for 26 years now, going on 27. Is that right?
Yeah, so in February, it'll be 27 years.
Okay. So in our universe, we know that as getting close to retirement age and thinking about the next stage of your life. But you have done just about everything in the APD that a guy can do, right?
Yeah, definitely. Most of my career has been on the operational side, so not a lot on the admin side, which admin is like professional standards, logistics. Although I did do a small stint in recruitment and career development, so that was a great opportunity to see how the agency recruits and how we also do our training for the officers internally.
You're somebody that's been on the street. Okay, not a desk jockey, as they say.
No.
I've been called a disc jockey, but desk jockey is somebody maybe that doesn't experience all that there is to know about policing. You've been out there firsthand and experienced some of the scary part of being a cop.
Oh, yeah.
You were stabbed. I mean, but yes, that happened. That was a scary moment.
Yeah, and it was a big learning experience also. But it was May of 2018, and I was on a call, and it was a simple welfare check call, which ended up being a guy who was in a state of psychosis, erratic, scaring other guests at a hotel, and it quickly became a dangerous situation where like I got too close to the hotel room where he was at, and he came out and attacked me with a box cutter. And, thank God I was not injured severely or fatally. The doctor told me had he cut 2 inches down further, he ended up cutting my left ear, but had he got a little lower on my neck, that I probably would have bled out if he would have hit it in the right spot.
That's just an example of how things can turn on a dime, how scary it can be. You go to work one day not knowing what to expect in any way, but you kind of know the routine of the job. This might happen, that might happen, but you did not expect that to happen.
No, and what's crazy about it is that day at 6:30 in the morning, we had a SWAT call out. So at the time, I was a SWAT team commander and also the West Asheville District Lieutenant. And you would think a SWAT call out is like really dangerous, and it was. We ended up getting several guns out of an apartment, some fentanyl, some heroin, and the guy had like a couple of carbines in the apartment. But of course, we had the element of surprise. Went in, were able to take 4 guys safely into custody. Nobody injured. Recovered several guns, 2 of which were stolen. Nobody injured, no damage done. Then fast forward 2 hours later, and I'm on just a routine patrol officer call for service. And then the attack happens, and I end up having to shoot the guy to get him to quit attacking me.
Yeah. Asheville Police Chief Mike Lamb joins me right now. So here's a question for Ask the Chief. Is there a difference between somebody being a chief of police and a police commissioner? Or is it the same job, different title?
A lot of that goes back to the size of the agency. So when I hear police commissioner, I think about New York Police Department. So they
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Batman
or Commissioner Reagan.
Yes,
from Blue Bloods.
Oh yeah. And I guess I think Teddy Roosevelt was a commissioner also.
Teddy Roosevelt was the police commissioner in New York City.
Yeah, so right there at the turn of the century. So usually you have a large agency and they have less of an operational role. Usually they don't carry a gun, don't wear a typical police uniform. A lot of times they'll have their own driver. It's more of a political position than a departmental operational position where they're actually making overall decisions that affect the, on a daily basis affect the men and women of the agency.
So to clarify, you do not have a chauffeur. As a matter of fact, you drove me over to the studio where we're broadcasting right now. So clearly... Not one of those situations here.
No, and I love being out there with the troops. I love being out in the community. So there's, like you said, I'm not a desk jockey.
Well, and the community seems to love you. A lot of it is because you came up through the ranks, and I think a lot of it is because just who you are and what you stand for, and then the rest, of course, is you're from here. You understand the people of the community. So tell us a little bit about that. I know you're a local high school kid, grew up here, the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. So local, native of Asheville.
Go ahead and shout out your high school. I know you want to.
Yeah, AC Reynolds High School. Go Rockets. They're ranked number 1 this year, so hopefully they'll win the MAC football conference and then end up going to state this year. They've got a lot of good talent this year. So
a lot of kids come out of that program, go to college.
Oh, yeah. And we grew up in East Asheville. I actually started elementary school in North Asheville. So I went to Asheville Catholic back up until sixth grade, and then went from having a class of like 26 to a class of 300 at Reynolds Middle.
Wow, yeah.
So that was an interesting transition.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Asheville Police Chief Mike Lamb is with me. We're talking about his rise to the chief of police in Asheville, and our segment, Ask the Chief, which is going to be part of our bi-weekly, I guess. We're going to start every 2 weeks with the podcast, the APD Pod Squad. Let me give them that phone number again. It's 250-8800 if you want to call and leave a message to Ask the Chief, or send us an email, apdpodcastfeedback@asheville.nc.gov. You've been the police chief now for less than a year. When we spoke, you were the deputy chief.
Yeah.
After assigned, that was a temporary, an interim role, and then, of course, you ascended to police chief. You're familiar with the phrase, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Mm-hmm. Are you feeling that as a police chief now that you're at the highest level of this, and having done almost everything else?
Yeah, what keeps me up at night, and sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and just have concerns about everyone's safety. Mm-hmm. So thank God we've not had an officer seriously injured or killed since Rob Bingaman died going over the Jeff Bowen Bridge. But that's what weighs heavy on me, is just the safety of our officers. I remember speaking at a BLET class, it was last year, but just looking at these young cadets, looking mm-hmm. at their families, and having that understanding that their safety is my responsibility now. And so that's what concerns me.
Yes, most bosses are just worried about productivity and profit margins, but in your case, you've got people's lives in your hands. I can imagine that just weighs heavy.
It does, and that's one reason that I wake up early in the morning and go run with the cadets. So we do PT early in the morning with our BLET cadets, and by doing PT, you're forming a bond with them. You're able to understand them better, able to hear their stories about their families, their background, so that, I can put a name with a face. We've had chiefs in the past that just had no idea who the new cadets were, mm-hmm. or even, sometimes they would get confused on their officers. And, I think it's just so important for me as the chief to know every officer, know their story, and also know their drive. With doing PT in the morning, mm-hmm. you understand how far and how hard they will push themselves also.
Yeah, you're definitely not bubble wrapped. I mean, I'm sure there's been other chiefs of police in Asheville and other cities that are kind of standoffish. But people will see you in the gym, walking down the hall. I mean, all over the place. And it's not a big shock when you walk in the room, like people stand at attention, because that would freak me out if that ever happened to me. I'd be like, just sit down, and that seems like this is a perfect role for you, and maybe why so many people were excited to see you ascend to this particular position. I remember it was early on. I joined the Asheville Police Department in March. So not long after you'd been named the chief. And so I have a receptionist desk, essentially, which is out in our office, our administration offices. And everyone's always asking me who's where and whatever. And I happen to know because I can hear conversations. The steady stream of people coming in that wanted to, and I hate to use the phrase kiss the ring, but they wanted to congratulate you. It had to be heartwarming, the support that you received, not just from your fellow officers and our patrolmen and women and everybody on staff, our leadership, but the citizens of the community, former members of the Asheville Police Department, and just regular citizens too. It was just a nonstop of, congratulations, Mike, congratulations.
Yeah, it's been pleasantly overwhelming at times, especially with members of the community just calling and seeing me out and saying just congratulations, we're so happy that you're the chief. And, a lot of times we as officers, especially detectives, they form very strong bonds with community members because they're sitting with those folks in their most intimate moments. Like whenever you've had a family member who has passed because of a homicide or a traffic accident or something like that, you're there trying to give them support, console them, and at the same time do an investigation. And those are relationships that last a lifetime. And, as I've said before, the relationships are the currency of policing. And when we have strong relationships, that helps us to really build trust between the community and the Asheville Police Department.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about your ascent and your years with the APD and the community. There are questions for you with our segment that we're going to have as part of the APD Pod Squad, whose idea. We don't really know. We're going to say Chief Zach at the time, but you know what? Let's just go ahead and say it was your idea. Okay. And we're going to declare that right here and now. It was yours. Of course, if it flops, then there's that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Safety net.
Then it was his idea. Yeah. You can call 250-8800 to ask the chief, leave a message, or send us an email, apdpodcastfeedback@asheville.nc.gov. Thanks for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Tough to follow up the chief, but let's do it. Episode 1 of the inaugural edition of the APD Pod Squad. Joining me right now, Lieutenant Josh Meindl. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we got something in common. We are both from the Buffalo suburbs, so I will say something and you have to respond with the only way you're allowed to. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Yes, you did it right. We can be friends.
That's right.
It's a weird thing around the APD. There's a lot of Bills fans, and we get grief.
I think we all got tired of being in the snow and in the cold, so we went like halfway south because Florida seemed too hot.
They call us halfbacks, you know.
That's right. So now we're here. We're too lazy to go all the way down to Florida. So.
Well, and it's hot. It's humid. Who wants to be down by the Dolphins?
No, thank you.
Yeah, Dolphins suck. So our former chief, David Zach, was also a big Bills fan.
Yes.
He was a big part of the Bills Mafia. I watched some games with him. I watched some football games with him before.
Yeah, I didn't watch any games with him. Went to a couple of the different Bills backers areas, restaurants and bars around here to watch some games. And it's funny, every time I'm around here and I drive around, I see like a Bills sticker or a Bills plate. My brain goes like, oh, look at that. There's somebody from Buffalo. And then I go to Buffalo, my brain still does it. And then I have to remind myself, like, they're supposed to have all that stuff there. It's not weird.
Hey, as long as we're talking about the Bills really briefly, as we're getting close to the football season, if you do want to watch some Buffalo Bills football, the Social is where the Buffalo Bills Backers Club of Asheville meets.
Yep.
So come watch a game with us there. That'll be cool. Lieutenant Josh Meindl of the Criminal Investigations Division of the Asheville Police Department. We just say CID, but the public would probably say detectives.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're going to be learning about some cold cases, which is a hot topic right now. There's all these TV shows and podcasts, and well, ours, of course. People want to know about these cold cases.
Yeah, we have cold cases that we go all the way back to 1969 on the ones that we have information on right now. We have about 47 of them, and we have one detective, Kevin Taylor, who's retired and has come back part-time that's his primary responsibility, is to investigate the cold cases. He's the most familiar with all of them and details about the cases. Our major case unit used to traditionally just work those as an ancillary duty in addition to all their ongoing casework, whether it be homicides or robberies, things of that nature. And then when Kevin retired and was willing to come back and help out, that just became his primary role to work on these cases.
All right, so let's tease the folks with a couple. I know there's one that's really kind of well known around here from UNC Asheville. What was the year? I believe 1973.
1973. It's Virginia Olson was the victim in that case. She was found over in the Botanical Gardens. She was a victim of a stabbing, and that is a case that we've worked over the years, both us and the State Bureau of Investigation. There's been a lot of work done in DNA, both by the State Crime Lab and by private laboratories, and we just haven't had a break in the case that has allowed us to solve it yet.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people think unsolved just means, uninvestigated, and that's not true. You're still hoping to get tips on any of these open cases.
Yeah, we never stop working the cases. Sometimes they can go inactive, it would be the term that I would use. 3 years or so without any new leads or any leads that have turned into further investigation is about when we consider a case to have gone cold. It kind of shifts into that cold case file at that point and it gets worked at from a different angle, different perspective. Some fresh eyes get on it. We never stop working them. It's always just what can we do to re-examine what's already been done by previous investigators or in former years. How has technology changed?
Yeah.
Forensic sciences is evolving and changing every single day, really.
Yeah.
So DNA technology has changed since 1973. New techniques are available, new testing formats are available for us to try different avenues. Digital forensics is now a new thing on some of our more recent cases. And obviously, there's the passage of time, and we hope that people eventually come forward and share what they know about these incidents with us to help us give victims' families some closure as to what happened.
Yeah. Lieutenant Josh Meindl, native of Lockport, New York, not far from my hometown of North Tonawanda, proud member of the Bills Mafia. But enough about us. How about another case that we can expect to learn about it, besides that one that people would have remembered, the old-timers that have grown up here or are from here?
We had an incident back in 1997 a young lady named Amber Lundgren was found dead over in East Asheville at Recreation Park. She was found by a guy who was out walking his dog that morning, and it's kind of what happened to Amber was that she left a downtown bar called Barcode, was never seen or heard from again until she was found by the guy walking his dog the next morning. Stabbed, weapons never been recovered, and DNA analysis to this point hasn't provided us with any leads in that case. I'm sure there's people who remember that, who frequent that park or used to go to that place back in the day, Barcode, and might know something about that we would love to hear from and help us shine some more light on that case.
Yeah, that was right before I moved to town. I got here in 99, and I remember hearing about that, though, in the years following, a little bit about that case. And I mean, I guess ultimately one of the things we would love to happen by discussing some of these cold cases is for people to maybe remember something from, that night, that day, whatever those cases, whenever they landed, that could actually lead us to an arrest. I mean, how amazing would that be?
It would be fantastic. These families, these loved ones, these friends, they've waited a long time to see somebody be held accountable for their actions that took the life of their loved one. We would very much like to be able to provide that to them.
How about one more? Let's tease one more, because we're going to be hearing about these cold cases as the series progresses in bits and pieces and really do a deep dive. But what's another one that we can expect to hear about?
Yeah, I think another one that's pretty well known around this area is a missing persons case that we've had. April Pickens, who received a lot of publicity back in 2011.
I remember that one.
Years.
Yeah.
She spent some time with her family at Christmas, and then she was supposed to go off and meet an unknown male, and she's never been seen or heard from since then. That case has been worked from a lot of different angles. It's publicly available in the NamUs database where people can look at the case and see what's going on or what work has been done. But that's one that a number of different investigators over the year have taken a shot at, looked at, tried to look at it from as many angles as we can, from a missing persons case to a belief that she would have contacted her family by now if she was still alive. And so really trying to get closure on that one. A lot of effort's been put into that one. I know that at different points rewards for information were offered up on that one as well. And we'd like to see that one come to a conclusion.
I mean, because there's probably family members, friends that are just still convinced that whoever has been declared dead is, in some cases where it's a missing person, that they're still out there too.
Yeah, you never really know. I mean, there's always the instances where you have an Elizabeth Smart type of situation where they're never seen or heard from again for 18 years, and then all of a sudden they gain their freedom and they're back. And, I don't know what it's like to be in the shoes of a family member who's had somebody gone missing like that for a long period of time, but I would imagine that they still hold out some kind of hope that one day they'll be reunited with them. And that's amazing if that can happen. And if it's not, we still want to be able to tell them what ultimately happened to them and let them know that somebody's going to be held accountable for it.
We're looking forward to hearing those stories and many more on the APD Pod Squad. Just getting kicked off with the very first episode of this. Lieutenant Josh Meindl, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to hearing more.
Absolutely.
Captain Jonathan Brown joins me on the inaugural edition of the APD Pod Squad. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rick. It's good to be here, and what a cool opportunity.
Yeah, this is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so really I say Captain Jonathan Brown because you are, but I've known you long enough that I believe you were a sergeant when we met.
Very good memory. You're going back a few years.
Yeah.
And all the way back to my early years with the Asheville Tourist. Pulling some security gigs there.
Yep.
And you're right, I was a sergeant and have progressed through the ranks over the years.
That's awesome. We love seeing a local kid doing well because you are indeed local. Irwin High School.
That's right.
Right? So you can perhaps settle once and for all. Is it Lester or Leicester?
Well, I'm native, so it's Lester.
Okay.
You get that question all of the time, and the simplistic answer is if you're from there, it's Lester. If you're a move-in, then it's Leicester.
As part of the APD Pod Squad, we're going to be hearing a lot from you because you're head of the Community Engagement Division.
That's right.
And very active in the community, and that is specifically your job. Of course, all of our officers and detectives and all of our leadership, it's really important to all of them to get out there and be with the community. We had an incredibly successful National Night Out earlier this month. That was a lot of fun. We've got another Coffee with a Cop coming up in September. Just pay attention to our Facebook page for that. If you've never joined us on Coffee with a Cop, that's a lot of fun. First of all, we should mention the coffee is free, so don't think we're trying to stick you with an expensive, $7 coffee somewhere. There's no rig going on here.
That's right. We're not making expensive espressos and
no.
drinks, that kind of thing. But it's just a good opportunity to meet new people, engage with folks, and we use coffee with a cop as a medium to meet people on neutral ground and create positive interactions. And what better way to enjoy a cup of coffee, right?
Right. And we move it all over the place, too. So if you say, oh, I can't get down to Biltmore Park Town Square for one, well, last time we were down, we were in the South Slope. For one, we played pickleball that morning. That was in July, right? Played some pickleball for that one. The most recent that we had was at the Asheville Outlets, which is not too. So we're all over the place too. We're moving it around a little bit.
That's right. We try to move around geographically to all four corners of the city. And so we every quarter we try to have a coffee with a cop where we're in a different location in a different area of the city and talking to different folks.
Yeah, typically on a Friday morning, great way to kind of lean into the final day of the work week.
Exactly.
A lot of people, that are just starting to date use coffee as a first date. So consider this your first date with a cop.
There you go. There you go. I don't know where that's going to lead, but I like it.
But it is a casual environment. That's the thing.
Is.
It's a great chance for you to interact with the police and just hang out and just talk and pick their brain a little bit. Or maybe if you got something going on in your community you want to share with them, you can do it then too.
A lot of times that happens, Rick. A lot of times folks will use coffee with a cop to engage with us, and we end up in conversations about issues and concerns that are going on in their neighborhood. And usually we're able to link an officer to that person or to that community and start problem solving their concern.
You've got stuff going on all the time, right? It's constant.
We have a very robust programming calendar. We look at each month, and we're building out each month with programming and events. So, yeah, we stay busy year-round.
So I know that I'll be a part, and my folks in communications with all of us. I'm the public information officer. We've got Samantha Booth, who heads our communications department. Also, Will Shepard, who does the amazing videos and pictures and stuff that you see on our Facebook page. We're part of the Citizens Police Academy, as are most of the departments in the Asheville Police Department, as we kind of, I hate to say educate because that sounds so stiff, but really the citizens of our community get to really do a deep dive and learn everything behind the scenes in some cases. We pull the curtain back on what is all that happens at the Asheville Police Department, and the fall edition is coming up.
Fall edition's coming up. So we just completed our application process. That's just closed. We are seating our fall class as we speak, and we'll be moving into our fall session on September 19th. That will run for 10 weeks and meets every Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. And you're exactly right. It's a good way to describe it as pulling the curtain back, because for those that don't have a family member in law enforcement, don't have a direct connection to law enforcement, and just see it from an outsider's perspective, this really brings you in and gives you a front row seat to see everything about APD, its administration, its operations. And we even take you outside the building. We take you over to the jail, and you get the opportunity to meet some of the judicial officials and folks that work in the court system. You get exposed to a lot of really, really neat, interesting things that is APD related, and it is a full 10 weeks. The other benefit I should mention is we feed you every Thursday night, and we spare no expense. It's really good food.
And the program itself is free.
That's right.
So, I mean, if you're just looking for a meal and to learn a little, I can't think of a better way to do it.
It is. We set 27 students or attendees in our spring session, and all 27, we polled them each week, and they gave us feedback through our surveys each week. I tell you, at the end, we did not receive one negative review. Everybody loved the program. They loved what they learned. They loved the exposure. 1 week, I will mention this because this is kind of interesting, and I think it really ties all of the weeks together. 1 week out of the 10, we let you become the officer. And we put our attendees in scenario-based situations where they're making decisions like an officer would. And the feedback we got from our attendees was tremendous. They loved it. So it was really interesting to hear back from them.
They don't get to use a taser, though, do they?
No taser,
Okay.
but some simunition type stuff. So everybody had a great time.
So if you get an opportunity, like you said, we've already kind of got the class ready for the September fall edition. When does the next edition after this one, for people that are saying this sounds really cool and interesting, when should I look for it?
Spring 2025, and what we'll do, January, we will start making announcements.
Okay.
And we'll push out an announcement that the application process is open. We'll run that for 3 or 4 weeks, and then we'll seat our spring class somewhere around middle of March of 2025.
And a lot of you already probably like our Facebook page and follow our Facebook page. But if you don't, if you're listening from somewhere else, it's a great way to find out everything that you're doing and that we're doing as a department is the Facebook page. We're always telling people about our engagements, our Coffee with a Cop, our Citizens Police Academy, all of those things. So liking our Facebook page, just look up Asheville Police Department. You know how to find that. And that's a great way to stay up to date on that. So we're going to be hearing about all those things in this new APD Pod Squad podcast. And so you'll be a frequent visitor here.
Very good. I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Captain Jonathan Brown, thanks for coming. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Appreciate you having me.
Captain Brandon Moore joins me on the inaugural edition of the APD Pod Squad. Are we excited or what? This is pretty cool stuff.
I don't know. I don't think you told me it was the inaugural. Now I got to change my demeanor.
At least I didn't say first annual. That's like a pet peeve of mine. There's no such thing as a first annual. It's an inaugural, and then everyone thereafter.
You just made the glaring error, though. You told me what your pet peeve is. So then we will have a first annual event coming up.
Oh, we have to. That would be the second one, I think. I don't know. So, okay, we're going to be talking to officers every single episode and getting to know them. A lot of people, they just see the uniform, but they don't stop to think, oh my gosh, this people has hobbies. He's got a background. She did this. He did that. So we're going to be learning about all of those things by talking with the officers themselves. How many patrol officers do we have right now, Captain Moore?
On the road, currently assigned, we have 104.
Okay. What would a fully staffed patrol division look like? 125, 130?
No, I think we're over 150 to be fully staffed.
Okay, and the good news is we do have some incoming classes that are a little bit more sizable.
We do, and I think many of them are going to meet what you're talking about. I think we're having a much more rounded group of people that have some really diverse backgrounds and where they're coming from.
And you've already got some diverse backgrounds as part of the patrol division. Give me a couple of little factoids, little nuggets that we can look forward to.
And I think that's fun and kind of us learning about what other people do or had done before. And we have some that were electricians, some plumbers, still certified.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have some that started in the fire service, though we don't want to talk about that. We have a few that even were a part of a barbershop quartet.
Ho, ho, ho. Barbershop quartet.
I'll let you figure out which one that is. That will be fun.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we do. We have real estate agents that are active. We have some DJs. We have coaches, both active in lower leagues as well as high schools around
That's
here.
awesome.
So we have a lot of people that do a lot of things.
I think the common misconception is that a lot of police officers, maybe they just graduate high school, they poke around a bit, maybe they just come from college, and they don't have much of a life before they join the force. But you just mentioned actual careers that were taking place and in some case are right now in a parallel while they're police officers.
Yeah, and I think what we see happens often is those become hobbies. I think you described that earlier. Mm-hmm. Whatever the calling was that made them decide to give that up to start this, they still kind of hold on to that and probably are utilized too, whether it be on the job encounters and people that need that. We even have individuals that do gutter businesses, hauling businesses. We have guys that do all kinds of things outside that I think also become extremely apparent and then are utilized by those around them. So I think whether it turns into a hobby or it's a side job even, it is something that a lot of people still enjoy doing, but they were able to kind of get to do both.
We're calling this segment Getting to Know because we're going to be getting to know these officers in a real conversational format. We don't want this to be just a hard question answer session. We just want to get to know people by just talking to them. And we're talking to you now. So tell us a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up?
So I actually grew up in northern Indiana, right outside of Chicago. Big Cubs fan. So anybody who's not, unfortunately, my son became a Braves fan, still trying to figure out how that happened. My family is now in Indianapolis, though. So we moved there, and I needed to get away from Indiana. So I went to Charleston, South Carolina for college.
So we've got two things in common immediately. I also lived in Indiana, in Evansville. I've been to Indianapolis, which, by the way, is an underrated cool town. They've got a great food scene. I'm sure people don't think, Indianapolis, middle of Midwest, but great steaks. some of the best steak joints in the country are in Indianapolis.
It's clear you have been there.
In downtown Indianapolis, it's very walkable. It reminds me of a much larger version of Asheville in a way. You've got like this canal waterway that's like sunken, and behind that are like museums. And the NCAA museum is in Indianapolis.
That is correct.
It is a cool town. And then, of course, you were in Charleston. I was in Charleston for several years as well.
Yeah, so I went to college there. Many may have not known, but I walked on as the kicker. I was a college kicker.
Is that right? Place kicker, punter?
I was a place kicker. I did not like punting.
How about you?
And so from there, I had known I would always go into the police work, but I could not join until I was 21. And I had graduated the fire academy in Indiana before I graduated high school. And so I could do that at 18. So why not start? And so I started first as an explorer and then transferred over to a recruit. And I went through and finished my fire service before and took the test. And they actually had to hold my cert until I turned 18.
Wow.
And so I started with the fire department in Charleston. And so once I graduated college, I stayed with them, but I joined the North Charleston Police Department.
Okay. So the things that are happening like in Charleston right now with the hurricanes, you can relate to that, I would imagine.
Yeah, that was crazy times. Those were times where everybody else was leaving, you were staying. So it was get your family in a place that they could be, and then you knew you were going to wait out that storm, whatever that looked like.
We had a fire department right down from where I worked. I ran Palmetto Brewing Company on Hugie Street. And it's called I think the Ghost Station.
Yes.
Because it's allegedly haunted.
Correct.
And so the very first hurricane that I went through, we took them down a whole bunch of beer that they were not allowed to keep.
I'm sure they gave it away like policy would indicate they should.
Yeah, they were telling me they couldn't keep it as they're walking it into the fire station. I mean, you need supplies for those things, right? And
you don't know how long you're going to be there.
You don't. And the intersection right by where they were and where we were, which for people from Charleston or have been to Charleston know the intersection of Hugie and King is literally below sea level.
Correct.
And so it floods on a blink when it doesn't rain. So those guys were always dealing with that, and so were we. And so we got to know those guys, and they would come by all the time after shift. So I got to know some firefighters.
Usually what you see on that street are just canoes of college kids waiting for that rain.
Yeah, because right down the street is the Citadel as well. Right. So we got to know a little bit about you. We're looking forward to getting to know your officers starting in the next episode of the APD Pod Squad. Thanks for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me. Good luck.
And that's a wrap for the inaugural edition of the APD Pod Squad. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes about every 2 weeks. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a minute. I want to thank Chief of Police Mike Lamb, Lieutenant Josh Meindl, Captain Jonathan Brown, and Captain Brandon Moore for being my guests this week. On the next episode, we're going to get to know Officer Isaiah Senyak. He's got a great story. And your questions answered if you ask the Chief with a phone call, 250-8800. Leave a message or email APD podcast feedback at asheville.nc.gov. My name is Rick Rice. This is the APD Pod Squad.
Mountains high and rivers